Hi, everyone. It's Amy Valdivia, and this is the Divorce Podcast, the baby of the Divorce Lending Association, where we are here to highlight and share information about those people that we partner with. Today, I am so very happy to have Miss Lucinda Lambros with me. Hi, Lucinda. Hey.
Good morning.
Lucinda is going to change our mindset away from all the emotion and all the sadness that comes with divorce, because there's this really important area that we focus on in a divorce: money. She's a certified divorce financial analyst, and I am proud to be associated with Lucinda because she comes from a very different angle, and she has not been a CDFA for 20, 30, 40 years like others. She actually brings a very different approach, and she supports women, specifically women going through divorce. And if you look her up in LinkedIn, you'll learn all about the fact that she just wants you to be prepared for the next chapter, whatever that chapter is, whatever that chapter you choose. Welcome, Miss Lucinda.
Thank you, Amy. It's such a pleasure to be here, and thank you for those sweet words. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you for being with me today. And before we go any further, I need to kick this off with letting everybody know who you are. Please tell them your journey. Tell our listeners your journey, where you went to school, your background, and what shifted and why you decided to get into finance.
Well, how much time do we have? I'm kidding.
Keep going. It's okay.
All right. So I grew up in Southern Indiana and went to school at DePauw, and that's DePauw with a W, not the L, in Central Indiana, and then moved to Chicago for a couple years after that, and then found my way to Southern California. I was engaged to be married, and he accepted a job out here, and that didn't last long. We did get married, and so I come to this from a lot of different life experiences, but I have been divorced. I've been through it. After, I don't know how many years it's been, a long time. I still remember the emotional roller coaster and the questions of, will I be okay? And can I afford this? And so many other things. And granted, I was young and life wasn't as complicated then as it could be now, but I clearly remember the emotional roller coaster of a divorce. So I started out in marketing. I was worked for a PR firm. I worked in advertising and worked in sales. Eventually worked for the Los Angeles Times selling advertising for them, and then took a break, got remarried, and started having children. We have 3 children, and I took a break from work for a few years, and then got back into it, got into sales, and realized that I just was not fulfilled. And I ran over a few years there where I've had some life experiences, and I talk about that a lot with people. I've had my share of life experience, from being diagnosed with leukemia and losing a brother to suicide, and I lost my dad to Alzheimer's. So I've had all these different experiences that I really feel led me down this path to be where I am today. I helped my mom through the transition of my dad, turning over the finances. That he took care of everything for their whole entire marriage. And that's still very true for many marriages today. And I think, Amy, you can validate that with your experience and couples and how the dynamics of the relationships work. And I like to refer to it as a divide and conquer. And a lot of that's what happens, right? The wife will stay home with the kids, or they'll work, but the wife's main job is to manage the household, take care of the kids, figure out who's going to be where, when, and the husband will take on the finances. So, and it's good until it's not, right?
Right.
So I started in finance about 11 years ago, and started as an advisor assistant, and pretty quickly realized that I really enjoyed doing it. Like this was the fulfillment that I was missing, and I didn't know it until I saw it. And I love seeing. I work with a gentleman who's been in the business for 30 some odd years, and I love seeing these people. They would come in, and you could see they were anxious and nervous, and not, you could just see there's stress in the shoulders. And when they walked out an hour and a half later, there was just this like calmness and joy. There were smiles on their face, and it was because they had a plan, and they they had a path, and knew that they would be okay further down the road if they were planning for retirement, or if they had lost a spouse, or they were trying to get their kids into college, that type of thing. So I went about getting my licenses, and pretty immediately some of my, I think 5 out of 7 clients were single women, and those were my first clients. And I thought to myself, how can I better serve this group? And so I looked into getting my CDFA, which is a certified divorce financial analyst, and here we are today.
Let's go back a little bit, because you're right. You're full of life experiences. You may not have the book time that others have. Your approach, though, is because you genuinely understand that. You
Right.
understand life, and you understand the fact that many times men do take over the finances. In your life experiences, tell me how you talked about Alzheimer's, you talked about leukemia, you talked about these things. How do you equate each of those experiences, those highlights, specifically to a divorce case?
So I think a lot of times, I think the big thing is to either be prepared or to know that you can survive.
Mm.
So we all have life challenges, right? I rattled off quite a few, and I'm sure you can do the same thing, and we all can do the same thing, right? And my challenge may not be as big as your challenge, but for me, a life challenge is good to know that other people are experiencing these challenges, and that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Mhm.
I tell every single person that walks in my door that's either thinking about going through a divorce, or going through a divorce, or finishing a divorce, that they will be happy. They don't know yet. Maybe they don't know, but they will be happy when this is over. And that there's a path, and you can make plans, and we can figure this out together. And I think that's how. I'm a very faithful person. I grew up Catholic. I still practice. I'm a practicing Catholic. I'm a Eucharistic minister. I ha I'm big on faith, and I feel that someone having faith helps you through whatever journey that is, and specifically in divorce, because divorce, you can feel very lonely sometimes, and feel, there's so many different emotions involved in the divorce, and the financial concerns of a divorce are humongous, especially for women that are older, and they either have to go back to work, or they've never worked and now they have to get a job. And how long will their money from the divorce,
Right.
from the marriage, how long will that last for them? So it's about being creative and making sure that they know they have options. And I'm very big on options, and you'll hear me talk a lot about options. So,
I think that before all of that, you're not giving yourself enough credit. Empathy.
yeah.
That's truly where you come from, that heart center full of empathy. And you know, I have heard of the women who don't even know how to write a check.
Mhm.
I had an aunt who, when her husband passed away, she had no idea. She didn't even know the name of the utility companies to keep the lights on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's more common than most people think, and it's not necessarily just older women. It's younger women. I've been on the phone with 27-year-old mom of 2 who
Oh,
did not have any information on any bills, was not on the couple's checking and savings account.
Oh,
And she was a user and not an owner. So there's a lot of small little details, and I know other people talk about it and they're more knowledgeable than I am. I can see it, I recognize it, but financial abuse is big.
yes.
And it's not always for it's not always the women that don't want to participate in the finances, or the men. It could be either way, right? But I mostly see it in the women in the marriages. Um, they either don't want to know or they can't know for whatever reason.
Mhm.
So it's not, I've always thought that it would be, my mom is 91. She lives with us. I've always thought it was that older generation, and it's not. So it's all generations. And again, I go back to that divide and conquer. I get it. We've all done it. My husband and I, we still do it. You
Yeah.
know, it's just, it helps because we each have our roles and we know, but we sit down and go through our finances. We sit down and we talk about, whatever, jobs or
Right.
whatever it is that we need to, the kids and college and all of that. So
Financial abuse and financial infidelity. I didn't even realize how or what those terms really meant until I started diving into this credential as well. It's amazing. And how many times do you reflect back and think, huh, I could be guilty as charged a little bit,
yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And when we find people who are not on their own bank accounts, especially women, you become a user, right? As
Hmm.
opposed to an owner. And I think that's a message that I'd like to share with divorcing homeowners. Not we hone in on females, but it could be the other way around as well.
Yes, absolutely.
What would you give? What advice, what nugget of advice specifically pertaining to that area would you give to a divorcing homeowner that walked into your office?
I think, and I always prefer to meet women before they are in divorce
Hmm.
and or couples. And it's about communicating and being clear and having the information. So right up front, I ask for a lot of information, and I can see the eyes glaze over. I can see the head spinning a little bit, but it's a lot of information. We need statements. We need utility statements. We need bank statements. We need retirement account statements. We need a lot of different credit cards. And it gets complicated when you start putting layers in there. Did someone spend money? Do they have an account that the other spouse doesn't know about? Do they have international investments somewhere?
Hmm.
When you start talking about international investments, that gets really tricky, and whether or not we can find that information, right?
So you're creating this whole picture. You're not just looking at, okay, how much money do you bring in or not today?
Right.
Walk me through that initial interview when they first walk in.
Yeah, so I want to find out where they are as far as a divorce. Are they thinking about it? Are they just in the beginning stages? Are they in the middle of it? How far along are they in the process? And a lot of times, they'll be maybe a step or two into the divorce, and now all of a sudden they're realizing they need help. They need help understanding what financial assets they have. Some, I don't even know what my assets are and what the liabilities are.
Okay.
So it's a conversation about where are they? Where are they emotionally and mentally? Are they ready for this? And where are they as far as knowing their finances? So
Mhm.
have they produced any documents? Have they seen a lawyer? Are they working with a mediator? So I really try to get a gauge on where they're at in the process. And um,
Okay.
so when I do meet with them, that first meeting with them, and we talk about all of these other things, and we get down to the finances and we start talking about um, paperwork that they brought with them. Sometimes I'll get a bank statement, or sometimes they'll show me like a credit card statement, and that's good. And that's the start of it. But how far how far do we need to go? In that first initial meeting, I
Mhm.
am trying to recognize if they need my financial guidance.
Hmm.
So are they knowledgeable about their finances? Do they know, where their money is or where their liabilities are? How much do they have? And it does get complicated. Obviously, the more assets that you have, the more money you have, it gets a little
Right.
more complicated, right? So that first meeting is me trying to find out what what's the asset and liability, and where are they mentally in the game, and then where are they financially as far as financial information. Do they have a good understanding of what they have or don't have? Are they both working? How do their retirement accounts play into all of that? So that first meeting, sometimes they seem like a lot, but it's really just a conversation. And I ask a few questions, and usually the door opens and I get the story. Um, and from there, I can tell I can help you,
Right.
or I can, maybe help a little bit, but I think you're good. So I'm happy to consult, or I'm happy to take on a project, and I work both ways. So sometimes people just need someone to bounce questions off of, and they have a lawyer already and they're kind of in the process and they want to know, can I talk to you? How much,
Right. How much you're
so
gonna cost.
yeah. And so I can do that. I can do a consulting. And then other people that I can meet early on in the process, and I can tell that they need help understanding what their options are, because that, to me, again, options is a big thing.
Right.
You don't have to keep the house just because that's what you and your husband talked about, or you and your wife talked about. There are options with the house, or let's look at retirement. If you're young or you're older, we need to know that you're going to be secure in life. So um, that's how I help people.
I'm sure that that first consultation is sometimes a therapy session,
Uh, yes,
right?
it is. It is.
And
And I do try, and so it's tough because I try not to wear the therapist hat. I'm not a therapist. And so I try to be very careful about listening, but at the same time, drawing the line, and I can't help them from that standpoint, nor am I a lawyer. So I cannot give advice from a legal standpoint. Um, so I'm really careful about making sure I stay within my boundaries of financial advice and financial help.
you talked about the home, hence the
Mhm.
fact that we're connected.
Yes.
Of course, from my perspective, I am receiving information from the client as well as the mediator or attorney, which I presume you're doing the same. And we're offering solutions, options, as many as possible. And they're talking to us about my favorite story. The Christmas tree always has to be in that window.
Mhm.
The kids don't know anything else, and they have to have the Christmas tree right there in that window. What's your approach to that scenario?
I try to talk about the future with them. So when I hear someone holding on to the past like that, I try to talk about the future, and I ask questions. Where do you see yourself in a year? Where do you see yourself in 2 years? And where in 5 years? And so those are great memories, but guess what? You get to start all new memories. And kids are resilient. I have three. I can tell you the kids are resilient. And depending on the age, maybe have a conversation with them. If they're older, can you have that conversation about the Christmas tree in the window? This neighborhood. What if we lived a couple streets over in a little less expensive area, less expensive house? Maybe we live in an apartment for a couple of years until we really figure out where we want to go, what we want to do. I think that it's about the client coming to the resolution that they can move forward and things can change, and they don't have to hang on to that house. They
Right.
have to get there. I can ask the questions to get them there, or perhaps I can ask questions to get them to see that there might be other financial priorities in their life besides keeping the house. And sometimes we have to make hard decisions, and that would be probably one of the most difficult decisions.
However, with a plan,
Yes.
it's amazing the stress level. You see it come down
Mhm.
because they may not execute that equity buyout, but you've now created some energy because it's the next chapter home, right? Now,
Right.
hey, there's a new beginning. Let's qualify for that new home. It could be around the corner down the street. You're still in the same school district. And now that house payment comes here and we have a plan. And now you can actually eat, keep the lights on,
Right.
eat, right? And keep the
Yeah,
kids
we
in
can
their
we can take
activity.
a vacation, right? We can plan that trip. We can, take long weekends and do this or that, or we can get you through college. We are still going to pay for college for you. So, absolutely, Amy, absolutely.
I have to ask you a personal question.
Yes.
Okay, for everybody. Here we go. You talked about leukemia.
Hmm.
There is such an emotional drain in our line of work,
Yes.
and it's often stressful.
Hmm.
How does that impact you, and how do you take care of yourself?
Thank you for asking. I have been very blessed. So, I was diagnosed with leukemia about 15 years ago,
Mm.
and it's a lesser, or I don't want to say rare, because plenty of other people have it, but a little less common form of leukemia that's easily treatable, and and 85% of people, and this was 15 years ago, go into 100% remission. And so fortunately, I'm in that 85% group. As of today, I do annual blood tests and everything, but it was an easy treatment for me. It does bring perspective into life for sure.
Right,
So I am very aware of my stress. And because I don't want life to be so stressful that it kicks my body back into something that maybe it knew before, right?
right.
Um, so I work out regularly 4 or 5 times a week, and I just try and enjoy something every day in life. And I think by helping others through the process, it actually is therapy for me. And I see the women, they come in, they're vulnerable to me, and I always have tissue on hand. It's a hard walk at the beginning, but it gets easier every step of the way. It gets easier. And so I think by me being able to help other people through the process, it's genuinely therapy for me, and makes me appreciate what I've been given in life and how I can help others. So thank you for asking.
Well said. I love that. We are part of the divorce team, and your empathy and your craft alongside somebody like myself, alongside the attorney, the mediator, and so many other individuals that are part of the divorce team. Tell me what your thoughts are about having a strong divorce team.
Uh, okay, so I am very opinionated on this.
Okay.
Um, I want to see people have professionals work with them that are willing to work with other divorce professionals. And I'm sure you've seen this too, Amy. We are here to help our client through whatever that takes, right?
Right.
So if I need to pull in a mediator, if I need to pull in Amy to help with the mortgage issues, if I need to get a person who does valuations, or maybe we have to go down the path of getting a private investigator involved, or we have to do some, research from that standpoint. Um, we all need to have that mindset of whatever the client needs to help make this successful for them. And every divorce success means something different.
Right.
So is it peace of mind? Is it the house? Is it retirement money? Is it just getting out the door and making sure I can get my way through life over the next couple of years and I will figure it out? So we see all different types. So absolutely, I want a strong group of professionals that can work together on the client's behalf. And I think there has to be a level of trust, and that trust has to be amongst the professionals as well as the client. Obviously, the client needs to trust us, but I think we need to trust each other too. And it's important that everyone communicate with each other and trust each other. So,
Boy, these are just big nuggets that I hope the listening audience is taking in and understanding how important it is. The most memorable case. What is the one case that just you know this impacts you in the way you practice today?
there's actually two. So if I can bend your ear for
Please.
two.
Yes.
One I was able to work with and one I was not able to work with. And I think it's important for people to see both sides. I'm going to start with the one that I was not able to work with.
Okay.
And then we'll end on a positive note. The one I was not able to work with, and it's such a scary situation, but a young couple, a lot of money, international money, have a home in Newport Coast. And for those people that are not familiar with Southern California, it's a very wealthy area. A lot of celebrities, a lot of professional athletes have homes in this area. And she stayed home. She provided a very nice lifestyle. They have businesses under names in other countries, and as well as one here in the United States. Unfortunately, she had no documentation for anything. So she knew two of the three company names. I was able to pull some information on the company that's here in the United States, but I couldn't get to anything else internationally. And no bank account information, no utility, no anything really. And there was some definitely some obviously financial abuse and mental abuse. The husband had gone so far as to threaten her physically. Don't know if there was actually ever anything done with that, but I couldn't help her. I pulled in a few of our professional friends and asked if they could help as well. And because she had no documentation for anything, we couldn't really help her. And all she wanted to know is if she walked away, would she be okay? But we couldn't provide anything for her. So unfortunately, I don't know what happened.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
hard. I think about that a lot. And I think about her and her well-being and her kids' well-being. And so just because someone has money doesn't mean that their life is great, because I can tell you that there are people that had a hundredth of the amount of money that they have, and they're much happier, and they'll be okay. But I don't know. I don't know what happened with her. And she couldn't. She tried asking for information. She tried finding information in the house. She couldn't find anything. So I don't know.
Wow.
And that's
That,
when I referred her to some shelters for women and children. And we lost touch. I didn't hear back from her. So I don't
that's
know.
definitely starting over.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
And how we don't know how her life may have completely changed. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
we're definitely going to hope the best for her.
Yes, and so I think back on that, Amy, and I think because it has affected me and will continue to affect me. How could I have done something different? Is there something I could have said or done? I gave her names and phone numbers and resources, and I did as much as I could without having any paperwork to help her start the process and help her know if she would be okay. And I think that's a lot of what I do with people. So if someone's even thinking about divorce, and in her situation, that's where she was. She wanted what a lot of us refer to as a crystal ball. She wanted me to look into that crystal ball and say, you're going to be okay. And I can do that, but I need something to get me there. Or I need I need something. I need statements. I need to, know estimates. If you don't have paper statements and you think this is what you have, then I can do some number crunching for you based on that information. But it's just important to always know where you are with your finances and, the value of the home, the value of the business, who pays the electric, how does that get paid, out of what accounts?
Right.
So the crystal ball is great and I can do that for people, but I need more information than I was able to receive from her. So
And they don't
I
have to be going, I want to clarify to the listening audience, you don't have to be going through a divorce to talk to Lucinda.
Right, right. So I help people before, during, and after the divorce. So before, they may be thinking about it. I've had a couple come to me and say, we've talked about, we're in therapy, and if we decide to get divorced, what does that look like for us? And I absolutely can do that.
Okay.
And fortunately for them, they worked it out. And I love to see that.
Yes, that's awesome.
Yep. As long as they're happy. If they're not happy, then yeah. So yes, so that's my before. During is obviously providing financial options and talking and educating the clients on what financial assets and liabilities they have and how we can get to an agreement on how to split the assets between the two. So, and it's not that simple. I make it sound like it's really simple, but it's not.
Now tell me about the happy case.
My
Yes.
happy story. An older couple, their children were grown, and they had money, and they had some company stock that was involved in the relationship as well. And it started out sad because they had promised each other that they would stay together, for so many years. And it got to the point where the husband said, I can't do this anymore. And so, emotionally, I think it was a little bit of a struggle for the wife. But in the end, it was wonderful to see, and it wasn't easy. I'm cutting to the chase here, but I was able to help. I worked with the wife. I was able to help her understand the importance of planning for her future. She's going to get a lot of cash up front. And so what do we do with that cash? We want to invest it. We want to set up retirement for it. We want to make sure that if something happens to her, life insurance or long-term care, what's her
Right.
legacy going to be with her kids? And so we were able to sit down and really map out a great plan for her moving forward. And I love to see that. And I love to continue to work with my clients after the divorce, because that's when I truly get to see the plan come into play
Right.
and come full circle, I guess would be the right saying for it.
How gratifying.
Yes, absolutely. And she's so happy. And I clearly remember sitting with her the very first time, and it's a totally different story today. So yes.
That's the right way to end it, right?
Yes, it was a complicated case because of the home and the agreement that they ended up doing with the home, and she's going to keep it for a few years and then pay back her half of the mortgage over the next couple of years when
Right.
they sell the house in a few. So it got complicated, and then you start talking about stocks and RSUs and payouts and all of these things. So it was fun because it was very interesting from a financial standpoint, but it also worked out. They both were fairly amicable um, and came to a settlement pretty quickly, pretty quickly.
And you just told everybody in a nutshell why they have a whole divorce team, because there's so many little integral pieces that may not mean anything today, but they may need to be executed or dealt with 3, 4, 5 years down the road. And that's why we link arm in arm together so we can work together throughout the whole tenure of the divorce.
Absolutely.
With that said, okay, listening audience, where can you find Lucinda? Lucinda, how can they find you?
They can find me. They can call me anytime. My phone number is 949-899-6525. They can also find me online. I have a website for my divorce practice. So I have two practices. One is the divorce practice and one is the
Yes.
financial side of things. So my divorce practice is WIT Financial Services. It's WIT, and that stands for Women in Transition. WIT Financial Services. And my website is obviously witfinancialservices.com. You can email me at Lucinda, Lucinda, at witfinancialservices.com. I definitely did not go for the short version of it.
It's okay. It's okay. You know what? In the show notes and in information, people can replay this over and over and over again to make sure they know how to find you. It's all good.
Thank you
And of
so
course,
much.
LinkedIn.
Yes, and I am on LinkedIn under, I believe it's Lucinda Z. Lambros.
I know.
Lucinda Zirkelbach, maybe Zirkelbach, my maiden name.
I always just look you up as Lucinda
Lambros. Okay, that's good.
There you go.
I'm there. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. So
Thank you. Thank you
Amy,
for
thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. What a great platform and what a nice conversation. And I just enjoy talking with you. Always have. It's great been getting, over the last, how long have we known each other now? For a year and a half, getting to know you. And what a wonderful platform for people to listen to and to reach out to other divorce professionals. And I appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for saying that, but I'm not going to let you go that quick.
Oh, okay.
You are going to wrap up our episode. What's your final thought that you'd like to leave with the listening audience today?
I want people to divorce knowing their options and that they have options. And I want them to understand the financial options in their marriage. And if they're going through a divorce, I want them to always feel like they have options. It's so important.
Thank you so very much. Those who are listening and reach out to you are very lucky to have somebody like you on their team. And I appreciate your time with me today. And it's true. I mean, we've not known each other for years and years and years, but every time I had an opportunity to sit and chat with you, I thought, this lady, she knows what she's doing. And the fact that you're so heart-centered and faithful, I think that empathy shows in your practice. I truly appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Amy. I hope you know I hold the highest regards for you and your knowledge. I've seen you present several times, and what you can do for people is amazing, I think. And you talk about this more than I do, but one of the biggest angst in a divorce is the house,
Right.
And how you help couples and people through the process. And again, showing that they have options. Hopefully they have options with that home. Sometimes they don't, but you're very creative with it. And I love what you do and the education that you provide. So hats off to you. Thank you.
Well, I look forward to continuing to work with you. Right back at you. That's the whole thing. Right back at you. And Team Lambros and Valdivia, here we go.
Thank you so much.
Day. Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye-bye.